We pull no punches. Press the button, subscribe.
Fight fans, welcome, and I have two avid boxing hardcores on my channel today, and I couldn't think of two better guys to have on my channel for this subject we're going to talk about. First of all, Mr. Neutral, Red Corner Boxing, how you doing, mate?
Very well, thank you, Darren, and it's a pleasure being on your show, mate.
It's great to have you back on again, mate. And the other half of Red Corner Boxing as well, Jams, how you doing, mate?
I'm really good, Darren, mate, and as always, a pleasure to be on Sir Chatelaar Boxing. Thanks for having us.
It's great to have you on again, just like Neutral. So what we'll do is we'll get on with this subject today, and as I said, two fantastic avid boxing fans to get on who are very, very passionate. So I thought, let's get the passionate ones on to talk about what I believe is turning badly wrong in boxing. So news broke recently, Jake Paul will now be fighting Gervonta Tank Davis the 14th of November in an exhibition fight. Tank Davis, remember, is the WBA lightweight champion. His title will not be on the line due to the huge gulf in weight difference, because basically we have a 65-pound weight difference. Absolutely shocking times in boxing. Jake Paul is 200 pounds. Gervonta Davis is 135 pounds. First of all, I'll come to Mr. Neutral. What's your thoughts on this shocking fight?
To be honest, Darren, sometimes you could be a victim of your own foresight. I remember talking to one of our colleagues on X a few months ago. I think it was just after the Tank had fought Lamont Roach. And Tank had indicated during that interview, that post-fight press conference, that, when he was posed the question, would he be open to a fight of, maybe a Jake Paul or something like this? And he said maybe. And I think the floodgates open for MVP and Mr. Badarian and Mr. Jake Paul to, make these fights possible. But, as I said to my colleague then, it wouldn't surprise me, because it is the start, it's the start of a decline for me in US boxing and matchmaking. For me, it's a bit of a hijack job by Jake Paul. He's trying to get the Deontay Joshua fight. He's got this fight now with Tank. He's talking about fighting Ryan Garcia after this. So for me, he's interrupting boxing big style. I love what he's doing with MVP in the women's game. I couldn't give him more flowers, him and his team there. Wonderful things, signing all them wonderful boxers and making those cards and really setting alight the women's game. But what he's doing personally, listen, if that was PPV, it'd bomb. The fact that the only good thing it's got going for it is half the world's got Netflix, and so it's going to be free. So as a spectacle, as an exhibition, yeah, it's going to appeal to 12-year-old boys up to 30-year-old men who just wet at the lips at such a thing. I just don't believe it, Darren. But listen, it is what it is. It is America, only in America.
Well, Jams, I'll come to that one straight away to you. I'll just pick up on one point there, what Neutral said about the Roach fight. Ed, I saw an interview with Eddie Earn earlier where he said he could have got paid $7 million for the Roach fight, will take 30 to 40 to fight Jake Paul. That just sums up a shocking state of boxing, doesn't it, really? Jams, what's your opinion?
Mate, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think it's not boxing anymore. It's more like the WWE. It's staged. Because this is a guy, and you say 200 pounds, who actually was 240 against Mike Tyson. He's a big heavyweight, and he was talking about fighting AJ And after he fought Chavez, he was giving it the, right, I'm in the top 15 now, I'm only fighting championship fights. So he lied to us yet again. Jake Paul, fake Paul, lied to us again. He's an embarrassment as a boxer, but like Mr. Neutral said, as a promoter for the female side of boxing, one of the greatest to ever do it, if not the greatest. Why doesn't he just stick to that and just keep this nonsense out of boxing? Because this ain't a real fight. Tank's not going to be allowed to swing on him and knock him out. There's no way would they allow that at MVP, allegedly. I don't want the lawyers coming, of course. But it's an absolute joke, mate. This fight from... Tank should be stripped immediately, first and foremost, as well. Tank should be stripped of his title, given to Lamont Roach, let him go and have a real fight with someone, unify or defend. Tank should no longer be a champion. He should never be spoken about as a pound-for-pound fighter again. He's taking exhibitions in his prime. He is not a serious boxer. So get that idea of him being pound-for-pound top 10 right out of your head, mate, because it's a joke. This fight just stinks of corruption. It stinks of everything that's wrong with boxing. It's just, I just hate it, mate. It's ruining a beautiful sport. It really is tarnishing the great name of boxing that people have worked hard for hundreds of years to get the reputation it had. And now it's all going down the drain because of people like Turkey Al Sheikh, Jake Paul, and these fake-ass motherfuckers. Apologies for the language.
No, that's all good, mate. I love your passion. I absolutely love that, and I couldn't have said that any better. I will also state the exhibition rules do differ to pro fights, of course, where larger gloves are usually worn. You can have things like shorter rounds, so you are correct in what you're saying. And you both mentioned as well, remember we was told by Eddie Earn that pretty much talks were ongoing and 99% done, I think he stated on one of his interviews, that Jake Paul was going to be fighting Anthony Joshua. Obviously, Anthony Joshua is a heavyweight. Now Jake Paul is fighting a lightweight. This is just turning into an absolute circus, isn't it? Jams, will come to you first.
It literally is, mate, yeah. I think he was just using AJ's name for clout to get his name back in public. Because after that Chavez shit show and the fight before with Tyson, which absolutely bored the pants off any boxing fan watching it, we all seen how scripted it was, allegedly, of course, and it was absolutely mind-numbing. So the only way he could get his name back into boxing people's mouths was by mentioning the likes of AJ. You know, I'm going to prove myself. I'm going up against the big man, the big muscly one everyone looks up to. And then he drops a bollock and runs to the little tiny man, and I guarantee, allegedly, there'll be a contract clause where Tank can't even fight for 8 of the 10 rounds. It's a joke, it's a farce, it's an embarrassment, and both men should be ashamed.
And you two, Neutral, do you follow what Jamsy's saying? Circus, the way boxing's going, is it turning into a circus? Will this be a joke of a fight? Do you think there'll be any sort of like knockdowns or interesting, or do you think it'll just drag out and go to a distance or anything like that?
I mean, Jams, is passionate as usual, and he's, from a boxing purist, standpoint, which he does come from. I totally agree with him. It's interference into the boxing game, as far as we're concerned. But look, the WBA, they got a problem here. They give him a ranking at cruiserweight, and he wanted to fight Badou Jack. He wanted to fight, Zador
McKillian.
Yeah, that's right. He wanted to fight Jayo Pataya. And now he's fighting Tank. They've got to strip Tank.
Yeah, I agree. I do
because
agree
he signed up he was ordered by the WBA to do the rematch with Lamont Roach. Now, I think they've got around it because it's now turned out, it's come out today that Lamont Roach took a step aside. In order for that to happen, Lamont Roach has to petition the WBA, and so does Tank. And Tank would have to classify that fight under special bouts rule by the WBA. So it looks like it's all above board. And that's the sad thing about it, is Lamont Roach at no point ever indicated that he took step-aside money. In fact, indicated that Tank could be ducking him for the rematch.
He was saying it last night.
Even amongst the Tank's problems on a civil, lawsuit sort of thing, or, his civil problems. So the WBA have a problem in that sense, that now that they give Jake Paul a ranking at cruiserweight, he's now making a mockery of that and, taking this fight with Tank at what weight? There's not going to be
195
no.
catch weight, apparently.
There's not going to be no sanction weight. So and what
Ridiculous.
commission is actually sanctioning this fight under health? If there's any health and safety rules in that commission, I don't know. But
Well, it's in Atlanta, Georgia.
But because of the title of exhibition, they can circumvent the, that, viewpoint, that image of an exhibition by actually saying, right, there's no rules, go and clobber each other. But I can't see that.
No, I can't.
It's going to be a contract where no knockdowns, no knockouts. As we saw in Mike Tyson, because even Mike Tyson at 58 years of age was holding back. It was obvious. It was on video. So this is going to be a similar thing. The good thing is they're not charging people to watch it. It's just on a normal subscription. It's up to you whether you watch it or not from an entertainment point of view, but not to be considered at all seriously in boxing. And this is the mindset hardcore need to establish in their heads.
Yep.
It's not a serious fight.
Tanker sold his soulmate for the bag.
But that's an American problem. That's not a British problem. It's not a world problem. This is an American problem because their market is declining. If you notice, PBC are not involved in this fight with Tank. And Tank, who said, I'll never, inverted commas, I'll never, betray Al. What's he just done?
Exactly that.
But do we have a more? Let's get to the deeper part of the problem. Do we have a serious problem in boxing? Basically, Jake Paul was a YouTuber who became famous from the Disney Channel. He then turned into an influencer, and he started taking part in boxing, pretty much fighting has-beens. There's no other way to put that. Some even believe his fights are scripted. Some don't. Nonetheless, the eyes are always on this guy's fights. The casuals always tune in. He's a seriously, seriously good businessman, like you both said. We'll give him credit for what he's done like that. But what is happening to boxing when the likes of Anthony Joshua was considering fighting him? Tank Davis has now took the fight. Jake Paul can happily walk away from Anthony Joshua, not take the fight. Whereas Anthony Joshua was chasing, probably behind the scenes, chasing that fight for the money. But is it a case of in boxing it's been dominated by money, or do we have a deeper problem with guys that have come from grassroots not being promoted properly and not being active on social media, not building their own profiles? Do you just believe it's money, or do you believe there's a problem with fighters and promotions not building fighters properly as well? I'll come to you first, Jams.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you just said, mate. I think there is a deep-rooted problem at grassroots level, and it all started when Turkey Al Sheikh came along, because now Matchroom, they don't care about female boxing no more. They don't care about the lower levels. And they're all they care about now is getting that turkey bag. And that's the problem. Like, the lower levels are getting cut. There's no promotion from, like you said, you don't see them on socials, you don't see them highlighted. You get the rare one coming through like Kyle Smith, who we mentioned earlier, who we're going to have an interview with later. And there's people like that. But other than that, you don't really see the smaller shows announced anymore. They put no effort in, no money in. They're just forgotten because they put it all into knowing to please Turkey, who's a casual himself, by the way. He knows nothing about boxing. He sits there on his phone the whole time, chatting rubbish. He doesn't even watch the fight. He didn't even turn up for a tumor after he forced that show to be put on. Didn't even bother showing up. Says it all, mate. It's all about chasing the bag, pleasing the mighty men. Jake Paul is now becoming one of them mighty men, along with Nikita Bydarian and MVP. And it's just fanny farming, mate. They're just licking each other up for that bag. They all want to please each other without actually extending or benefiting the career of any boxer involved. In fact, they're actually hurting them careers. It's a joke. Needs to stop, needs to be kicked out of boxing, because once Turkey's bored in 2030, 2032, after the World Cup in Saudi, he's going to pull his money out and go elsewhere and put it somewhere where it's more profitable to them. And then boxing's going to be screwed because you're going to have these mid-level boxers still wanting 2-3 million for a bum fight. And it's never going to happen. So he's going to leave us with a broken sport.
I mean, it was good to start with. We all loved the fights we was getting from Saudi. Even though they were in front of dead crowds, a lot of them. We was loving the fights we got. We can't knock that. But I do agree and appreciate what you're saying. If Turkey leaves and the way sort of like things are becoming. I mean, do you think it's dominated just by money now? Do you think that's what it all boils down to? Or do you think there's a problem at grassroots level? Do you think that promoters aren't promoting fighters properly? I mean, when you look at Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, they've got a lot of fighters on their books. They can't promote everyone every day. But what do you think the initial problem is?
If you know, Darren, I think you're just about old enough, and you, James, to remember when the Premier League football was created back in '92. And the money that was injected into the sport. You've seen the result of that now today from then. And when you get a transitional moment in a sport that is of the magnitude of Turkey Al Sheikh and the money he brings to the machine of Netflix and Jake Paul's MVP, traditional boxing is in a massive transitional period with the likes of TKO, Turkey, MVP, and celebrity boxing misfits. And then you got the branches of boxing, bare knuckle boxing, knockout boxing. You've got MMA, UFC. We're splitting up as a combat sport that used to be solely boxing and branching out. And it's this transitional period that we're in, it's sort of throwing everything into awry in boxing because we're getting crossovers from YouTubers getting into boxing like Jake Paul to misfits calling out real boxers. And it's all started by PPV. And I'll go back to, I can go back to celebrity shows done in the 60s and 70s with Ali. It's nothing on this scale. That was in a country far, far away where you never got to see it on TV. It was an exhibition, which would make this, the exhibition you're about to see in November with Tank and Jake Paul is going to put that exhibition into comparison as far as viewership is, worldwide. This is, they want to rival the Great Rumble in the Jungle of, 1 billion viewers, but that's not going to happen.
Not in a million years.
Not in a million years. They'll never replicate that, but they're trying their very best. And this transitional period just thrown the sport of boxing into confusion. It's got the sanctioning bodies confused, having to use, every single loophole within their rule structure and their policies to enable these fights. And you're right, it's all about the money and the injection that's coming into the false economy, which we now know is, purses that have been overinflated. And that's by no means Turkey's fault, because that started way back in 2015, 2016 with BBC and their model following the WWE. So this is no surprise to people who've been seeing these things coming, However, it's I often wondered what the catalyst would be, and boy, if they found it now. This is the catalyst. And Anthony Joshua, I fear, and the way Eddie Hearn has been talking, they have been wanting that fight.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've seen several Eddie Hearn interviews. He was saying he was the front runner, 99% done, and I envisaged seeing that fight happening. But then to see this now is just a complete 360, really. But what I was going to pick up on as well, this week particularly, I've noticed it as well. We've got a cracker of a fight Saturday.
Yeah.
Jack Rafferty versus Mark Chamberlain. All us boxing hardcore, great fight. Staying Saturday, we'll watch that fight. Cracker of a fight. Two guys working their asses off in their career, doing what they do. And then I see Joey Essex. He's coming into, I think it's Misfits Boxing. And
Yeah,
I've
on the
seen,
30th of
I've seen
August.
loads about it this week. I've saw stuff on IFL TV. And I feel like people are going to talk more about that shit than that Saturday. This is, like you're saying, Neutral, about the transition. This just isn't good for boxing, is it, Jams, the way it's going? Well, sorry, Neutral, we'll come to you in a minute, Jams first. It's just not a good time. The social media presence now and the character means more to sort of the casual fans going into boxing than unification fights, undisputed fights. It means more to them, doesn't it?
It
Jams.
definitely does.
It's
Sorry, mate. Yeah,
That's-
it definitely does, Darren, man. It's ridiculous. Like, you'll get more clout now for a misfits fight between two nobodies who people know on YouTube than you get for like people like Rapperty against Chamberlain, which is a highly skilled matchup between two of the best of Britain.
Yep.
This fight should be on the front of every paper, but boxing's a niche market, and that takes me back to what Neutral was saying about comparing it to the Premier League back in '92. You can't compare football to boxing. Boxing is such a smaller niche market nowadays than Premier League. Like football, even then, was the masses were all over football. They still are. You're never going to get boxing to that kind of level. It's never going to even be comparable to that kind of sport. Football has always been Britain's bread and butter, and it always will be.
But do the promotions, sorry, just to interrupt, do the promotions as well? I mean, obviously the fight Saturdays, Queensbury, Frank Warren. Can the promoters do any more than what they're doing, or is it down to the fighters to sell the fight as well? It's a really hard time where you've got to look at things. I would be as a promoter thinking, well, Jake Paul's done this and he's sold himself like this. How can we do it better? I just think there's got to be some kind of, we're in a transition period. Do the promotions need to start looking at themselves more? Do you think they do, Neutral? Or don't you think it's just a money thing?
Yeah, it's all been about the money with them, the promoters, and
Ticket sellers.
If an offer comes their way and they know they could put bums on seats, then they'll sell their souls to the devils of boxing. I'll tell you that now. And this is what I mean about this transitional period. They're actually taking part in it actively, like Eddie Hunt, Wasserman Boxing, are part of Misfits. Or was it Soiland? I can't remember.
It's Soiland, isn't it?
It's Soiland, so apologies, Wasserman. So, you've got British promoters that are actively encouraging this practice of negotiation, even, which is even sadder because, talk to me. What money have you got? You sound desperate.
Yeah.
Boxing sounds desperate for this Disney money, is what I call it.
Yeah, but you know why that is no Neutral? Because promoters have been losing so much money on shows for so many years that the minute they've seen a gold coin, they've just jumped on it. Even at the tarnishing of the sport that they love, they're trying to save themselves, basically, aren't they? Because look how many promoters put on shows and actually lose money per show. You'd be absolutely massively surprised if you've seen how many people,
they make
especially
money
at the
on
lower level,
the
they lose hundreds of thousands of pounds a year. But they do it out of love for the sport. And then now, you've just got these money grabbers just killing the sport they claim to love.
Well, obviously, we're talking about Jake Paul and that now, but you brought Turki Al-Sheikh up. I'll close the show sort of with this. With the likes of Turki Al-Sheikh, the likes of Jake Paul's in boxing with a big, I mean, it's mad to say Jake Paul's the one with the money, but he is. Do you sort of feel like in boxing, I'll come to you, Neutral, first, do you feel like we're sort of under a dictatorship now?
That is perceived like that because of the way he's bought into boxing, into BoxRec, into Ring Magazine, into DAZN, even the broadcasting. It's only he's got his own sanctioning body, he's got his own belt, he's got his own record company, statistics company, scheduling. He's got all bases covered, and that influence is only going to grow. It's not going to lessen. We know he's here to at least 2030. I would say even well beyond, considering his control of said entities by that time, and maybe more is yet to come. As a power broker, I just think he is umbrellaing promoters under a massive umbrella that he will take to Riyadh with him after 2030.
Interesting to see what happens. Jams, do you feel like I know you're very passionate about this, but do you feel we're sort of under dictatorship by Turki Al-Sheikh?
I do, mate. Yeah, I do. I think he's gonna control. Like Neutral said, he's bought BoxRec, he's bought 10% of DAZN, he's bought this, that, the other. He's monopolising the sport of boxing. That's what he's doing. He's going around, he's buying all the best bits to make sure that eventually, when it comes time, he's got enough power to either force someone to pay massively over the odds, or he's going to drop us like a bad habit. and only boxing is going to pay the price. And I just don't want to be here for that day. But unfortunately, I think we will be come 2031, 2032.
Well, it's interesting times ahead, and I think that's a great way to sign off. And I just want to say to anyone watching this, obviously the two guys I've got here with me, all we are is passionate boxing fans, want the best for the sport. Any criticism we've got, I'm interested to see in the comments whether you agree with any of us. If you don't, that's fine. It's just our opinions, just for the good of the sport. We want it to succeed and thrive. We don't want it to go downhill. But at the moment, it is becoming a bit of a circus in all of our opinions by the sounds of it. Mr. Neutral first, thanks for your time for coming on my channel again. And I want to give a big shout out to Red Corner Boxing. Make sure you like and subscribe to their channel. They're doing great things. Loads and loads, over 5k subscribers now, doing great stuff. And the other half as well, Jams Red Corner Boxing. Thanks for coming on, mate. I appreciate your time.
Always a pleasure, Darren, mate. Thank
Always
you.
a
And make sure
pleasure,
everyone
mate.
subscribe to Sir Chat A Lot of Boxing, mate.
Absolutely.
Real talk every time.
Let's get him on the first road to 1K, and after that, let's go. Come on.
Let's have it. I'll get Jake Paul to start telling people.
I've told Hawkins to get me a signed shirt.
Yeah. Once
After
again,
you ran, that's not happening.
thanks for your time, guys, and I'll speak to you both soon.
Always a
care.
pleasure, my brother.
Thanks, guys. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.